Emma, and you're watching My Birthway. This is a video documentary about my pregnancy experiences, my journey getting pregnant. So this is the 4th episode. If you watched the last 2, you saw me discussing my chemical pregnancy. That was the first time we tried to get pregnant. Go back and watch that video. It's a little bit emotionally hard, potentially for you, maybe to watch. It was a hard experience. But I was looking now, like, oh, I need to put up the next video so that people know, like, that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And I realized that because of, I mentioned in the last video, that I didn't want to be quite as documenting and specific with the way I observed myself. I wanted to do that with my body and observe my body, but I didn't want to like write everything down and pee on ovulation strips and all that stuff. I wanted to just kind of go with the flow more. I didn't do the video after that. I skipped ahead and started recording again when I was 6 weeks pregnant. So, spoiler alert, currently I'm speaking to you from the future. I am 13 weeks pregnant now. All is going great. And it is mid-January 2017 right now. That video you saw before the 3rd episode was from October 2016. So I want to give you an update. I'm not going to give away what the 13-week mark is like until you get to that video, but I want to give you an update about the period from when I had the chemical pregnancy and chemical pregnancy loss until about the 5-week pregnant mark, because that's where I started re-recording the videos. I think because I felt more comfortable. And I think I always said, oh, I'm going to go record that, you know, because I'm going to remember, I'll remember last week and record it and then give you kind of a summary of what happened. But I never did, which is ridiculous. And it was a very meaningful time and I remember it. And I have it all written down in my journal, so I'm going to reference that. But I'm just so surprised that I didn't go back and do it. So I wanted to tell you that because that's kind of a big plot change right now. And it's exciting. So I mentioned in the last video that I had the kind of a period, kind of a miscarriage, 16 days after I ovulated the first time. And I suspected that I was going to ovulate again after I recorded the video. It was a couple days after all of that. Pretty soon after. And so I did. I ovulated on schedule. I didn't pee on an ovulation strip, but I knew that was occurring because I follow the fertility awareness method of, like, you know, understanding my fertility. So you look at cervical mucus, just different feelings about your body. You can tell when you're ovulating. Once you've been doing it for a while and tracking, you can tell at least the range of when you're ovulating. So I was able to tell, and I'm pretty sure that I ovulated right around October 27th, based on all the symptoms that I was observing. And so at first, we weren't sure if we wanted to try again because it was a little bit upsetting. And then it just kind of went like going with the flow. I said intimacy was hard at first, and then after a couple days it was good and actually really beneficial and healing, kind of, you know. And so it was just normal to just do our normal thing. We didn't think about, are we having sex during the right window? Perhaps it won't work. Like, we just didn't even think about it. So that happened, and then I started recording more in my journal. And I noticed, I didn't really notice that many changes. I just suspected that I would experience the same things as the first time, early pregnancy. So, like, my boobs getting bigger again, maybe being sore, being tired, maybe being, like, a little constipated or something like that. And I noticed on day 9, after I ovulated, for this current pregnancy, that there was like maybe a little bit of color when I wiped. It wasn't like the way the implantation bleeding started from last time. It was very faint, and I thought, okay, maybe this is it. And of course it made me nervous because I thought, oh my God, it's going to be the same thing as last time. It's just going to last for 10 days and it's going to end and it's going to be upsetting. But I was also like, but I'm just probably a woman that has implantation bleeding, so I'm going to just go with the flow. Like, I can't control my body. My body knows what it's doing. I trust it, so I'm going to just go with that. And I noticed too that my boobs were sore, especially the right one. It was very asymmetrical and interesting. But I wasn't feeling extra sleepy or anything, so I was like, we'll see. And then on day 13 after ovulation, so this is 2 weeks after ovulation, this is around when I could take a pregnancy test, but we decided to wait a good long time so we would be sure, and not get like that faint pink line and start freaking out and like, so I noticed that there was definitely implantation bleeding. And it lasted just for a couple days and then it went away. So that was really heartening because I was like, this is the way it's supposed to be. Theoretically, it can be different for different people. But for me, now I know 10 days isn't normal. It clearly wasn't last time. So it's, it's a couple days. That's great. So I noticed that. And then I also felt like my digestion was kind of starting to change around that 2 weeks after ovulation mark, which, because I was pregnant, it was actually considered 4 weeks. I mentioned this before by medical standards. So right at 4 weeks pregnant, I noticed that my digestion was kind of changing, and like leftovers in the fridge were like really grossing me out, even though they were totally fine leftovers. I was just like, ooh, leftovers. But I was feeling some slight cramping in my uterus, and I was scared it was going to be like last time, like turn into a period. But it wasn't. I think it was almost like digestion bubbles and stuff like that. I got a little constipated again, like the time before. And my boobs got just continually bigger. At least I felt like they did. So that was something that was new. And I definitely wasn't going to take the pregnancy test at that point because I had done some research about the kind we have, the brand we have, to see like actually when it's like pretty much for sure accurate, when there's like not many false negatives and stuff. So I knew that if I took it on the day 17, so just a few days later, if I waited, there would be only a 7% chance of it being negative if I was actually pregnant. So I was like, that's a good percent. Like, I think I'm pretty good about that. So I felt really pregnant. I remember thinking like, I'm pregnant, but I didn't really want to, Jason and I of course talked about it, but I didn't really want to talk about it with anybody else. I didn't even want to focus on it too much because I didn't want to get my hopes up. I wanted my body to just do what it was doing. So I put my faith in my body as opposed to in the fact that it was definitely a pregnancy happening. I knew it was starting, I could tell, but after something like that happens, you don't really want to get so excited because you might have to wait again, But I felt different than the first pregnancy. It felt like right. I felt pregnant, but I felt like lighter. My body felt lighter. I think I mentioned last time I felt kind of heavy bodied. I felt better. It just felt like it was the most meant to be thing. Like my body just felt like it's entering into a phase of what it's supposed to be doing versus the first time I felt like, can I pick this up? Is that okay? And the second time I was like picking up 50-pound bags of feed, not worrying about it. I was like, I'm going to go about life and do what I know I need to do. Plus, over this period was our one of our hugest animal harvests of the year. We raise, humanely raised, pasture raised, heritage turkey, chicken, duck, that kind of thing. So it was our huge turkey processing day. Get ready for Thanksgiving. And so we were working our butts off and we were so busy, and it was like carrying heavy stuff, gooey, gross things, which is usually fine with me. And I was like, I can't be squeamish. I can't worry about this. Like, this is the world I live in. I live on a farm. I'm a farmer. Like, I'm just going to go balls to the wall the way I am. I'm not going to like overdo it to be an idiot, but I'm going to just do what I know I need to do and what my body feels safe doing, not psychologically overthink things. And so I just did that. And I'm so glad I did that because it set the right tone, I think, for the rest of the pregnancy. Feeling like I'm just going to be what I need to be and keep doing what I need to do. I'm not fragile. Women have been doing this forever, and you can take it easy, but keep doing what you need to do. Keep exercising, keep doing your life. So also at this time, like a couple days later, I noticed my boobs got extra asymmetrical. Like the right one was way bigger than the other one, and then it evened out later, but that was pretty funny. So it was for a couple more days before I took the pregnancy test. It was still, those were kind of the symptoms I had, and then I told you the brown discharge stopped. Sorry, it stopped. So I was like, okay, the implantation bleeding is over, and that's really great. I also noticed, it could have been because I was maybe dehydrated from like working really hard doing the turkey stuff, but like my face was kind of rosy red one morning when I woke up, and I thought, am I dehydrated? But I seemed kind of like, ooh, is it that pregnancy glow? I mean, I don't know. People are telling me now that I have the pregnancy glow, but then I was thinking, is it that? I don't know. Or maybe I just have dry skin. Like, who knows? So my boobs got more symmetrical. And I also noticed my nipples got bigger. It was very obvious. So I was like, I think this is happening. The implantation bleeding stopped. Things are continuing to change. And the implantation bleeding was still very slight. It was just a tiny bit of brown. There was no period that went with it. So my lips got dry. So maybe I was dehydrated. Maybe it wasn't a pregnancy glow. I don't know. And I felt a whole lot more like emotional. I'm usually pretty emotional. I said this before, but I felt more emotional and more tired. Like, not sleepy so much, but like exhausted after some physical activity, like walking up the hill beside our house to do animals and feed animals and stuff. I have to like, oh, I need to breathe. Like, oh my God, I'm so winded. Like, and also kind of feeling a little like, what? I don't remember what I was doing. And then, so on day 20 after ovulation, which is pretty much day 21, pretty much, which is 3 weeks after ovulation, which would be 5 weeks considered pregnant. That's when we took the pregnancy test. And I didn't know if I wanted to take it that day, but I wanted to use that first morning pee, which has theoretically more of the hormone in it. And so I took that test in the morning. It was like in the dark. I was like, I'm going to do it now. Oh my gosh. I was like, Jason, are you awake? I'm going to go pee on the strip now. It was the first time we'd done it. Like last time we took 1 million. And he was like, okay. And, wait exactly 3 minutes. I don't want to like mess it up. And it was just totally 2 pink lines, like so obviously. And we looked at it and we were like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Because the last time you could barely see that other line. It was like so obviously 2 pink lines. And then I took another one just for fun. And then I think maybe I took one a week later, but that was it. Like, it was clear to me. So let me see if I can show you in the camera. There are those pink lines. They're still there. Can you see it? Yeah, super obviously double lines, right? Like, totally. So we did that, and that was great. And that was pretty much at 5 weeks pregnant. So, I mean, it was just exciting. We were super excited, and I felt safe and comfortable, but I was still like, I don't know if I can get my hopes up yet. Oh my God. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to put positive energy into this because I believe that it's not like my body's going to do this again. I think my body's going to do what I would expect. Like, let it do what it needs to do. It's going to work. It's going to be okay. And then definitely that period of time, I had lots of cramping, but it didn't freak me out. It didn't scare me or anything like that. It was just like, it felt like fine cramping, like not like period cramping, like stretching cramping. And so I was like, okay, this doesn't scare me. This feels like expansive cramping, not contractive cramping. And I also noticed that my blood pressure during this time for around those few days kind of fell out a little bit. And that's one thing that can happen in early pregnancy. Usually it's later on, but I just noticed that most of my symptoms were like a week before you would read about them happening, they would happen and then they would kind of disappear. And so I, looked into it. It was like, it's normal, especially if you eat like a big meal instead of little meals. It can happen. It can happen anyway, but especially when you're pregnant. And so I noticed some like cleaning out freezers for packing meat and, still working our butts off after that turkey processing day. It was